the Peat of the Philosophers, or the assembly of the disciples of Pytagoras, called the Code of Truth. Aristotelius said, "I tell you that our master Pythagoras is the foot of the prophets, and the head of the sages, and that he had so many gifts from God and wisdom, that no one after Hermes had so many. He therefore wanted to assemble his disciples who were sent by all the regions and provinces, to deal with this precious art, so that their word would serve as a rule for those who would come after them. And he commanded Archimedes to speak first, which was of good counsel, which said, All things have a beginning and a nature, which of itself is sufficient without the help of others to multiply infinitely, otherwise all would be lost and corrupted. Peat says, Master, if you start we will follow your words. And Pythagoras says, Do you know who sought this art, that there is never any real dye except from our red stone? Why do not lose your souls or your money, and do not receive sadness in your hearts? And of this I assure you, and take this from me, as from your master, that if you don't change this red stone into white, and if you don't then make it red again, and so if you don't make tincture of tincture, you do nothing. So cook this stone and break it up and take its blackness out of it by cooking and washing it until it's white, and then straighten it up like it was. Aristotelius says, The key to this work is the art of laundering. So take the body which I have shown you, and which our master has told you, and make subtle tablets of it, and put them in the water of our navy, which water is permanent. And our body is governed by it, and then put everything on a slow fire, until the tablets are broken, and reduced to water. Mix and cook continuously over low heat, until it becomes broth peppery, and cook it and turn it in its water, until it is frozen, and makes your eyes very like flowers, which we call sunflowers. Cook it until there is nothing black and whiteness appears, and then rule it and cook it with the gum of gold, and mix everything by fire without to touch, until everything is red. And be patient, and do not be bored, and water him with his water which has come out of him, which is permanent water, until he is made red. This is burnt brass, and the flour and leaven of gold, which you shall cook with the permanent water which is always with it, and digest and cook until it is dried up. Do this continuously until there is no more moisture, and everything turns to a very subtle powder, which you will cook with the permanent water which is always with it, and digest and cook until it is dried up. Do this continuously until there is no more moisture, and everything turns to a very subtle powder, which you will cook with the permanent water which is always with it, and digest and cook until it is dried up. Do this continuously until there is no more moisture, and everything turns to a very subtle powder. Parmenides said, Know that the envious have spoken in many ways of waters, broths of stone and metals, in order to deceive you, you who seek this secret science. Leave all that, and make the white red. Know and advise first what lead and tin are one after the other, and know that if you do not take the natures, and you do not join the parents with their near relatives and who are of the same blood, you will do nothing, for natures meet and pursue each other, and rot and engender each other. For nature is governed by nature, which destroys it, and reduces it to powder, and makes it become nothing, then renews it and engenders it many times. Study and read so that you know the truth, and what it is that rots and renews it, and what things are, and how they love each other, and how after their love enmity and corruption come to them, and how they embrace each other, until they are made one. When you know these things, put your hand to this art, otherwise, if you do not know them, do not approach this divine work, because all will be only misfortune, despair and sadness for you. So look at the words of the sages, as they understood the whole work in these words, saying, Nature rejoices in nature, nature overcomes nature, and nature contains nature. In these words is contained all the work, and for this leave so many superfluous things, and take the living water and freeze it in his body, and in his sulfur that does not burn, and make nature white, and so everything will become white. And if you cook even more it turns red, and the sea water becomes red and blood-colored, and it is a sign that God has done all his time, and is coming to glorify the good. And this is the last sign of his advent. But before that the sun shall lose its light, and the moon shall be darkened and turn to blood, and all the sea and all the earth shall be split. And the bodies which were dead shall rise from the graves, and be glorified, and shall have the face glorious and brighter 1,000 times than the sun. And body, mind and soul will be glorified in unity, giving thanks to God, that after so many torments, pains and other tribulations, they have come to such good and such perfection that they can never be corrupted or separated. If you don't hear me, don't study any more, and never meddle in it, because you are out of the number of the sages. I couldn't speak any clearer. If you don't hear it the first time, study it the second, third and fourth time, or always, until you hear it, for everything is in this figure, from the beginning to the end. And, as well as man can explain. Break your head hearing it, so that you work and eat. Lucas says, know that the body and the spirit help each other. The spirit first breaks the body, so that it helps it afterwards. When the body is dead, water it with its milk, which is in it, and take care that the spirit does not flee, but keep it always joined with its body. And if one flees the fire, and the other suffers it well, when they are both joined together, both suffer the fire well. And know that one part of the body overcomes 10 of the spirit, and strengthens it. And know that our sulfur burns everything and that it makes itself from the beginning to the end, helping it according to nature. The Vicar says, know that without fire nothing is generated. Put your composition in its vessel, and make moderate fire, everywhere, and beware of strong and violent fire. Because they would have no movement one at a time. Other. Take care that the fire is slow, because if you make the fire stronger than necessary, it will be red before its time. Because first we want black, and then white, and then red, because nature works only by degrees and alterations. I told you art enough, if you are reasonable, for you do not have to work on several things, but only on one, which deteriorates step by step until it is perfected. Pythagoras says, let's say other things which are not other things, but the names are different. And know that the thing which we hear, of which the philosophers speak in so many ways, follows and reaches its companions in the fire, as the magnet draws iron. And this thing in the embrace causes many colors to appear, and is found everywhere, and is stone, and is not stone, dear and vile, clear and precious, obscure and known to everyone. And has only a name, and if has more than one, and it is moon-spitting. Hear therefore the black geline, and water it with milk, and give it gum to eat, that it may heal, and keep its blood in its belly, and feed it so much milk, that it loses and molts its black feathers, and loses its wings and no longer flies. Then you will see her beautiful and she will have white and shiny feathers. Gold give her saffron and rust of iron to eat, and then give her blood to drink, and thus feed her for a long time, and then let her go. For there is no venom that can harm her and that she does not conquer. And she stares at the sun without blinking. Isabeau says, Master, you said without envy, what it belongs to say, God reward you. Pythagoras says, and you Axabophs says what it seems to you, and he says know that sulfur contains sulfur, and one moisture contains another. Peat says, is that all? You're not saying anything new. And he says, humidity is a venom, which when it penetrates the body, it dyes it with an invariable color. For when one flees and the other flees, one takes the other and no longer flees, because nature took his equal, as his enemy, and killed each other. Here's how you'll do it, and the diet is such. Confit it in child's urine, and in sea water, and in clear and permanent water, before it is dyed, and cook it over a low heat, until blackness appears. For then it is certain that the body is dissolved and rotten. And then cook him with his temper, until he puts on a red robe, and always cook more, until you see in it the serpentine color you ask for." Sextus said, "Know all investigators of the art, that the foundation of this art, for which everyone thinks, is only one thing, which the wise consider higher than any nature. But the fools believe it the vilest of all things. You are very cursed, you who are mad. I swear to you, if the kings knew it, no one would ever come to it." Pythagoras says, "Name there." And he said, "It is very sour vinegar which makes the body black, white, and red and of all colors, and converts the body into spirit. And know that if you put the body on fire without vinegar, it burns and spoils, and know that the first temper is cold. So be careful not to make the fire too strong at the beginning, because it is the enemy of coldness, and if you cook it well, and take away its blackness, it becomes stone, resembling marble of extreme whiteness. And know that all the intention and the beginning of the work is the whiteness, after which comes the redness, which is the perfection of the work. I swear to you by my God that I searched for a long time in books, in order to arrive at this science, and I prayed to God that he would teach me what it was. And when God had heard me, he showed me clean water, which I knew was pure vinegar, and afterwards, the more I read the books, the more I heard them." Socrates says, "Know that our work is made up of male and female. Cook them until black, then until white, cook everything 150 days, and I tell you that as long as you know the materials that are necessary in our work, and the diets, you will find that it is not something different from their regimes than women's work and children's play. But the philosophers said so many diets in order to make you wander. But what? Hear everything according to nature and according to the regime, and do not believe without searching so much. I only command you to cook, cook at the beginning, cook in the middle, cook at the end, and do nothing else, for nature will come to an end well." Zeno says, "Know that the year is divided into 4 parts. Winter is cold, rainy, and watery. Spring is a bit warm. The third is hot, namely summer. The fourth is very dry, and the fruits are picked there, for they are ripe. In this way govern your natures and not otherwise, otherwise blame only yourself, not us." Peat says, "You speak well, say something more," and he says that's enough. Plato says, "Our gum curdles our milk, and our milk dissolves our gum, and they grow into the stone of paradise, which is the wood of life, in which stone there are 2 bonds together, viz., fire and water. This one quickens that one, and this one kills that one, and these 2 being conjoined, remain ever, from which there appears oriental redness and redness of blood. And our man is old and our dragon young, who eats his head with its tail, and the head and tail are soul and spirit. The soul and the spirit are created from him, and one is from the east, namely the child, and the old is from the west. The raven flying through the air and in August time, molts its feather into an oak hollow, and it has the yellow feather, which falls from it while eating serpents. And its head becomes red as a poppy. It is the fountain of the torrent, it runs through 2 veins, and their beginning comes from a channel, one is salty, the other is sweet. The crow purges himself, and she cleans him, and he will say, 'He who cleansed me will make me red, otherwise I will kill him and fly away.' Whoever has seen this in little talk and witness, and who has not seen it cannot believe it. Awaken the wild beast, put domestic birds near it which will take it and prevent it from flying, and then when it is taken, give the birds for their trouble its liver to eat and its blood to drink, to animate them afterwards. And to the horse you ride, make him a white blanket, and the horse is a strong lion covered with hair, and on both is the griffin. This thing has 3 angles in its substance, and 4 in its virtue, and has 2 in its matter, and has 1 in its root. I went through several paths, and always my dog near me. There comes a wolf from the east, and my dog and I from the west. The wolf bit the dog, and the dog bit the wolf, and both became enraged and killed each other, until great venom came out of them, and then a theriac. This is the stone hidden from both men and demons. I exposed to you what each one had sealed, and told it to you. Until from them came great venom, and then a theriac. This is the stone hidden from both men and demons. I exposed to you what each one had sealed, and told it to you. Until from them came great venom, and then a theriac. This is the stone hidden from both men and demons. I exposed to you what each one had sealed, and told it to you. Theophilus says, you spoke very obscurely. And Plato says, expose what I said. And he says, know all sons of doctrine that the secret of everything is a tenebrous covering, of which the philosophers have so often spoken, and this jacket and covering is made so. Make small tablets out of your body, and cook them with venom, 2 to 7 and 2, that's all. Boil it in this water for 40 days, and fire your vessel, and you will find the garment you ask for. Wash it by cooking it until there is no blackness and freeze it, for when it is frozen, it is a great secret, and a stone is made of it which is called dasuma, that is to say fat. But first after it is rotten, throw a little white salt to dry it, and it does not stink, and then you will find what I told you. Cook it until it is like white manna, and then cook it again until you see various colors appear. Peat says, you spoke very well. Notia says, and I also want to say something. In man there are 2 digestions, the first takes place in his stomach, and is white, the second takes place in the liver, and this one is red. For when I get up in the morning, and I see my urine white, I go back to bed, and stay there 3 or 4 hours longer, and my urine, when I look at it at noon, is red as blood. Because it is very cooked. The first was only cooked for 3 hours, and for that reason it was still white and raw, but after 4 hours it is very well cooked and the color of blood. I told you what I did. Who has ears that he listens to and opens them, and who has mouth that he keeps closed? Bell says, you spoke very well and without envy, God help you, and give thanks to the disciples to hear you and hear. If no philosopher had ever spoken more, people would not wander as much as they do. For something else only makes them wander, so many words and various names. But I say that all metals are imperfect while they are in blackness, and therefore lead is not perfect, because it is black. But he who takes away his blackness is in himself, and will whiten him. Why, you don't have to search much. So whiten the lead, and remove the redness from the brass and redden the moon, and that's all. But understand by this that our lead is a metal which is not vulgar, but which comes from our mining, and also silver, and also the whole composition. Bocastus says, you have spoken well for those who will come after us, and I want to help you. Know, you who seek this precious art, that if you do not remove the spirit from the dead body, and do not hide it in another spirit, and then if you do not make a soul out of them, you do nothing. So kill the body and rot it, and draw the white spirit out of it, and the soul will glorify it. And know that the spirit does not come from the body, but comes from the spirit, and the soul comes from both. The body is spirit, but the spirit is not body, one to the other, but the other does not hold it, and note this, for otherwise you do nothing. Melotus says, you must rot everything in 40 days, and then sublimate 9 times in its vessel, then rot it again and confide it, and then know that it tints everything it enters into, and intimately. You hear it said enough, but no one believes it except that God watches over it, and it is by the righteous judgment of God that this is so. Gregorius says, our stone is called a phetabutz, that is to say purple garment, and is nothing else but to kill the quick and quicken the dead, and by quickening the dead you kill the quick. And by killing the quick you quicken the dead. And know that it is all one, and that it is nothing strange, because he kills himself, and he himself quickens. The vicar says, "You speak very clearly." Bell responds, "You are very envious," and he says, "I command you to take what they told you and do what you must without error, and you have a good example. If you know how, do as nature does, only help her. When the moon is in conjunction, it has no light, but when it is opposite the sun, it is clear. And if it weren't for the air that is between us and the fire would consume everything." Peat says, "Vicar, you speak carelessly and little," and says, "The first time I speak I will say the weights and diet, colors, times and places of our venom. Let each of you speak at his pleasure. I said mine." Bonella says, "Take the royal Corsustus, which is red, and give him calves' urine until his nature is converted, for nature converts nature and transmutes it. And nature is hidden in the belly of Corsust. Feed her until she is old and big and can go on her own." Brymelius says, "Take the matter that everyone knows, and take away its blackness, and then fortify its fire in its time, because already it can suffer it, and there will come various colors, the first day saffron, the second like rust, the third like poppy of the desert, the fourth as strongly burnt blood. When it is like this, then the body is spiritual, dying and purifying all the imperfect, you have the whole secret." Arislius says, "The stone is a mother who conceives her child and kills him, and puts him in her womb. Then he is more perfect than he was before, and feeds on her. Then he kills his mother and puts her in his womb and feeds her, and the son is his own mother's persecutor, and they have various times of tribulation together. And that's one of the greatest miracles we've ever had. Here speak, and it is true, for the mother begets the son, and the son begets the mother and kills her." Pythagoras says, "You speak well, children, and are not envious." All Peat says, "We would speak much more clearly, but you ordered us not to speak too clearly, because fools would know this science as well as the sages." Pythagoras says, "Otherwise, if you spoke clearly, I would not want your words to be written in any book, but also I command you not to be too obscure." Bailius says, "I tell you that the mother wears mourning for the death of her son, and the son wears a robe of blood-colored joy at the death of his mother, and so reward themselves. The mother is always more pitiful towards the child, than the child towards his mother." Stikos says, "If you do not remove the fire which is enclosed in the body, and join it with the water, you do nothing. Therefore I command you to wash your matter with fire, and cook it with water, for our water cooks it and burns it, and our fire washes it and strips it. And listen well to my words, and do not rack your brains imagining so many things. Know that nothing engenders nothing, and each one makes it similar. And you won't find what you're looking for in the thing if it isn't there, no matter what you do." Bonella says, "Know that our water is not vulgar water, but that it is a permanent water, which seeks unceasingly nor rests its companion. And when she finds him, she takes him subtly, and he and they are one thing so much only. She perfects it, and he perfects it without anything else, and completely water first covered with blackness, and when you see it black, know that the blackness lasts only 40 days or 42 at the most. Then you will see the white and thick, and this is a sign that the fixed is beginning to have dominance over the humid, and that the dry drinks up the cold, and the hot congeals it of itself." Sistikos says, "You who seek this art, please leave so many obscure names, because our matter is only one, that is to say water. But what? When a blind man leads the other, both of them fall into the pit. Why can you yourself do everything? Because it is nature that finishes everything for you. Cook the snow, cook the milk, cook the flour of salt, cook the marble, cook the tin, cook the silver, cook the bronze, cook the iron, cook the sun, and you will have everything. You see that I only order you to cook, because the slow fire is everything." Ephistus says, Know that light fire is the cause of perfection, and the opposite is always the cause of corruption. Cook therefore first by a slow fire, until everything can endure a strong fire, for if you make your fire strong, it will not dissolve, and if it does not dissolve, it will never freeze. For the body cannot cook water through all of it, nor entirely, and the fire which is enclosed in the body, is not awakened nor excited if the body is not dissolved. Morian said, "Water tints water, and one humor tints another, and one sulfur another, and white whitens red little by little, so likewise little by little red reddens white, and one makes white the other volatile. And then the other fixes it, and then becomes one in a perfect middle substance, more than either alone before. Hear me and leave these herbs, these stones, and these metals and these foreign species, and pray to God with all your heart that he will make you one of us." Basem says, "You cannot come to your end without enlightenment and without patience, and without having the courage to wait, for whoever does not have patience will not enter into this art. How do you think you hear our material the first time, neither the second nor the third? Read everything so many times that you doubted and have this book as a light before your eyes, and have patience to wait. I saw in my time a great philosopher who knew as well as I, and none of us. But his impatience and too great haste, and too much covetousness, by the justice of God, as I believe, by force of fire he lost everything, and cannot see what he wanted. And for what our master Pythagoras says, that whosoever shall read our books, and go about them, and have no vain thoughts in their heads, and pray to God, he will rule the world. For you are looking for a great secret, why don't you want to take pains? Don't you see that one man kills another, and also kills himself for money? What then should you do, and what pains should you take in order to attain this high science which is of so very great profit? When you plant and sow, do you not wait for the fruit until the time of its maturity? How then do you want to have the fruit of this art in such a short time? I tell you, so that after you curse us, that any haste in this art comes from the devil, who tries to divert men from their good intentions. Be firm and believe your master, as we believe ours, for having believed and known, we have benefited." Bell says, "You have advised the disciples well, but I tell you that God created everyone from 4 elements, and the sun is its master and lord, but we only see 2 of them, so long is the earth and water. And there is an air enclosed within the water, and another within the earth, and the air is drawn from the fire which holds the earth within the air. And the earth holds the water and the fire above the air, earth and fire are friends, air and water are friends, fire is friend to water through air, and air is friend to earth through water. And water holds the air above and below, and the earth holds the air, and the air also holds the earth. The fire is held in the earth, and the air opens it and shuts it up in the water. And the water opens it through the air and puts it in the air, which is enclosed in the earth, by the fire which is also enclosed therein. The air opens fire in the earth. He is blessed who hears my words, for never man spoke more clearly." These are the words of our master Pythagoras. Azarm says, "When God made the world he made it all round to better understand. And the father of everything is his uncle's son, and his uncle is that father's son. The son is the uncle's brother, and the father is his sister. The son is the father of the uncle, and the uncle is the son of the father, and the father is the son of his uncle who is the son of him. And who doesn't hear me don't believe it. His sister is the father of the son, and the father is the great uncle of the sister, who is the father of the son. The son is the mother of his sister's great uncle who is his father, and his son is his uncle, and his sister is his mother and his daughter. And the girl is the niece of the father of her who is her son of her, and he is the father of her who is her son. Hear us, the 2 of us who speak well, for God wanted us to speak thus by his justice and his judgment." The vicar says, "You speak very obscurely and too much. But I want to declare the matter to you, without giving so many obscure sermons. I command you, sons of doctrine, frozen quicksilver. Of many things make 2, 3, and 3, 1. 1 with 3 is 4. 4, 3, 2, 1, from 4 to 3. There is 1, from 3 to 4. There is 1. Therefore 1. And 1, 3, and 4. From 3 to 1. There is 2. From 2 to 3, 1. From 3 to 2, 1. 1, 2, and 3. And 1. 2, from 2. And 1. 1, from 1. To 2, 1. Therefore 1. I told you everything. Sirius says. You are all envious. No son of doctrine, that the child is begotten of man and woman, and if the two sperms are conjoined together, you do nothing. But when the sperm of the woman comes to the door of the womb, and meets the sperm of the man, they join together, and one is hot and dry, the other cold and moist. And as soon as they entered it, they are mixed up, and nature, which governs by the will of God, closes the door of the womb, and they enter a skin which is in the womb, which is one of the chambers of it. And so exactly closes the door of the womb and the cell of the said skin, where the sperms are, that the woman has no purgations, and leaves nothing outside. So there is the natural heat all around the womb gently digesting the two sperms together. And the sperm of the man only converts and matures that of the woman, and then little by little the substance which the woman throws out, increases the sperm and nourishes it and enlarges. And converts by the work of the man's sperm and natural heat, by the aid of the compound together, and cooks, and digests, and subtilizes, and purifies. Until that the spirit has movement in this composition. In the first 40 days there is movement, and in the other days it is in milk, then in blood, then in main limbs, and in the formation of the heart and the liver and other limbs. And then the purgations that were bloody and black with putrefaction, whiten by decoction and are brought white to the breasts, from which the child then feeds and suckles until he is big. And then they give him all sorts of beverages to drink, and all kinds of meat to eat, and he grows bigger and stronger with bones, nerves, veins and blood. It is thus with our work, which understands it well. And know that whatever we say in several places, put this, put that, however we understand that it is necessary to put so much only once. And close until the end, though we say, open and put, for we do all this to cause many to wander. But the wise who hear our words know well our intention, and how nature governs itself. Because we do nothing else, if not to administer to nature the matter with which she can work for her, as you see in every generation. First, when we want to make a tree, we sow it with its perfect seed which came from it, for each seed makes fruit like what it came from, and then when we have closed it we leave it in the ground. Then it rots, and then germinates a white germ that the earth nourishes, and it is by the active virtue which is within the rotten seed, and grows so much that it makes a tree such as the one from which it came. And out of that tree comes yet another seed that can multiply infinitely. So we only help matter, and nature completes it. Also, if a woman goes to several men, she never conceives, and if by chance she conceives, she makes the child dead. Because if you mix raw things with cooked things, it will cause bad digestion. Why we must have nothing else, except the two sperms of a root, and cook them, for they deteriorate, but that you help them in the way you must until the end. So do so, and leave so many words and diets, and look as nature does, and try to imitate her in her diet, and do not be so rash as to want to do more by your diets than her. For if she does not the fact, you could not do it by anything that is of your invention. Because no one can make our stone, if not of our only material, and by our only diet. And for this leave all these strange words and conform to nature. For I tell you that it's nothing else that makes you fail but the strange words and the various words, and the diets, and so many weights that they said. But note that however they spoke, nature is but one thing, and all agree, and all say the same. But fools take our words as we say them, without hearing what or why. And they have to look if our words are reasonable and natural, they have to take them, but if they are not reasonable, they must hear our intention, and not stick to the words. But know that we all agree on anything we say. So tune one by the other, and consider us, for one clarifies what the other hides, and so everything is there whoever seeks it. And whoever sees our books and hears them, he has no need to seek countries or cities, or depend on his money. They must take them, but if they are not reasonable, they must hear our intention, and not stick to the words. But know that we all agree on anything we say. So tune one by the other, and consider us, for one clarifies what the other hides, and so everything is there whoever seeks it. And whoever sees our books and hears them, he has no need to seek countries or cities, or depend on his money. They must take them, but if they are not reasonable, they must hear our intention, and not stick to the words. But know that we all agree on anything we say. So tune one by the other, and consider us, for one clarifies what the other hides, and so everything is there whoever seeks it. And whoever sees our books and hears them, he has no need to seek countries or cities, or depend on his money. And so everything is there whoever seeks it. And whoever sees our books and hears them, he has no need to seek countries or cities, or depend on his money. And so everything is there whoever seeks it. And whoever sees our books and hears them, he has no need to seek countries or cities, or depend on his money. Basem says, "You were too bold, our master didn't want us to speak so clearly." And he says, "I don't want to be envious like you guys. No, all of you who seek this art, that some philosophers in order to hide this science have said that it must be done by hours and by images. But I tell you that this is not necessary there, neither helps nor harms, for matter is always ready to receive the virtue it deserves." And our master says it more clearly by saying, "Our medicine can be done everywhere, at all times, at all hours, and from all people, and is found everywhere, and there is nothing to do." But those who say that, it is only to hide the science. For I tell you that when you find out, you will seal it. So don't be surprised if they seal it. Linus says, "Know that our work is made of 3, of 4, of 2, and of 1, and the fire is 1 and is 2, and the colors 3, and the days 7, and 3, and 4, and 1, and am here. And know that the vinegar, if you make too much fire, flies away, and you will find above the house like little white mountains, because vinegar is spiritual and flies away. Wherefore I command you to govern it wisely and by little fire, for little fire always causes only to gather heat from the dissolved sulfur. Otherwise you will do nothing, and know that God created a mass and 7 planets, and 4 elements and 2 poles, where all are supported, and 9 orders of angels and 2 principles. Matter and form. Hear what I have said to you, for I have revealed marvels to you." Isaboff says, "Put the red man with his white wife in a round house, surrounded by slow and continuous heat, and leave them there as long as everything is converted into water, not vulgar, but philosophical. Then if you have ruled well you will see a blackness on it, which is a sign of rotting, and will last 40 or 42 days. Leave them both there continually until there is no more darkness, and do at the end as at the beginning. And know that the end is only the beginning, and death is the cause of life, and the beginning of the end. See black, see white, see red, that's all, because this death is eternal life after the glorious and perfect death." Peat says, "Know that you have yes the truths. Take them where they are, and sort them as one sorts the good weeds from the weeds. And know that our work must be cooked 7 times, and that at each of the 7, it must be given a color until it is perfect. And when it is perfect, it is a more excellent living tincture than it can enter into a man's head, and is nothing, neither matter nor diet. And if one knew the true diet and told it to fools, they would say that it is not possible, by so little diet, to do such a precious thing, but let them in their belief, and do not go there by belief. But we hear and know the roots from which everything is multiplied. Theophilus says, know that all the Peat has concluded well. Pythagoras says, let me speak and you shut up. I want you to start speaking again, each one of you. For the envious have spoiled this science so much that now hardly anyone can believe it, and so such a gift of God is deemed false. But I tell you that it is one thing that I know, and the reason is everywhere in grasses and trees and men and angels and in all nature. Theophilus says, our master, it seems to me that the serpents carry a venom inside their belly, from which if one ate, one would die of it. But who would take after the paste venom, which is the theriac? One venom would consume the other and prevent death. Socrates says, know that the philosophers called our water, water of life, and said well, for first it kills the body, then makes it live and young. Sivarilia said, you are envious. And he says, say whatever feels good to you. Know that our matter is an egg, the shell is the vessel, and there is white and red inside. Let its mother brood for 7 weeks, or 9 days, or 3 days, or once, or twice. Or sublimate it, whichever one you like, in a slow bath, 280 days, and there shall be a chicken there, having a red crest, a white feather, and black feet. I told you what my brothers had sealed to you, and hear me. Aristotle says, know that many speak in different ways, but the truth is only one thing, which is in the dunghill, and of itself is known. Pythagoras says, how, Aristotle, are you bold enough to speak? You are not yet learned enough to speak with us, you should listen, however what you have said is true, listen to the masters and Plato. Lucas says, I marveled so much at the sun that when I look opposite a very thick cloud, it appears yellow, green, red and blue, and it is our various colors that the sulfur makes appear. Nostius says, take the stone which is called benedyl, because all the water from it is crimson in color and serpentine red. So wash the sand of the sea, until it is white, and let it dry in the sun, and various winds will rise from the west, and then the sun will come at noon in his reign. And then will rise the eastern winds, but the moon causes the western winds to rise, and then everything calms down. Alchemius says, know that the mercury is hidden under the rays of the sun, and the moon makes it lose them and takes it, and dominates over it. But however this domination, the sun gave it to him by 2 days, afterwards it returns it to the sun and goes in decline. And Venus is messenger of the sun, and lets him know his lordship, and Mars is he who presents to him. And when the sun has his kingdom, for the trouble that his 6 companions have taken, he gives them very beautiful clothes of his livery. So know, children, that the sun is not ungrateful to its servants, as you see. And who has seen this surely speaks of it, and hears it clearly. The philosopher says, our matter is called egg, serpent, gum, water of life, male, female, bemble, corsist, theriac, bird, grass, water tree, but all is but one thing, namely water, and N is only a diet, namely cooking. Danaus says, know that the envious have said that this work is done in 3 days, the others in 7, the others in 1. They all tell the truth according to their intention, but know that our months each last 23 days, and 2 days with, and the week of each month, has 7 days, and each day 40 hours. Because these are our times and our hours, so everything is there, and time. Examiganus said, wet, Dry, blacken, whiten, spray and blush, and you have all the secret of the art in these few words. 1 is black, 2 white, and 3 red. 80, 120. 280, 2 make them, and they are made 120. Gum, milk, marble, moon. 280. Brass, iron, saffron, blood. 80. Peach, pepper, nuts. If you hear me you are blessed, otherwise do not look for anything, because everything is in my words. Gnostius says, know that man only produces man, and bird only bird, neither brute beast but brute beast. And know that nothing improves except in its nature and seed. And know that anything we said, we all agree. But the ignorant believe that we are different, but know that everything is in one, and it takes a strong little fire to dissolve, because the coldness of the water would be against us. And we want it to dominate over his body. How then could coldness dominate if it is consumed? Why we have often spoken to you about small fire, and by this slow fire, darkness appears, which is the spirit altering the other spirit. After darkness comes light, and after sadness joy, and foundation on marble stone is our intention, and word continues. Isomindrius says, know that our first spirit alters, the second mingles, and the third burns. First, then, put on 9 ounces of our matter, vinegar twice as much as the first, when it comes to our fire, and cook bembel, teldai, salmic, zarni, xenic, white orpiment, red sulfur. Our common non. Bembel is black, and teldai too, and dominates in winter during the rains, when the nights are long. And the sun at that time descends from the sign of Virgo into that of Libra and Scorpio, which are cold and humid, 80 or 82 degrees. Then comes Zarnek and Xenic, which is white and orpiment, which is when the moon rises 3 other signs, some half cold and humid and others half hot and humid, and each of these signs lasts 23 points of their number. And our red sulfur is when the heat of the fire passes the clouds, and joins with the rays of the sun and the moon, and Venus has already overcome Saturn. And Jupiter by the suitability of its complexion. Then Mercury, who has no more help, descends, for all the celestial influences are against him, and the fire and Venus and the sun burn their cold and humid rays. And then by the great contrariety of hot and cold, Mercury sparkles, throws impalpable spiritual sparks, and in this debate descends 3 hot and dry signs. And there remains in each sign 43, 24th of a degree, and a third. And so he who does not hear me, read again, for I call God to witness that here is the clearest word that I have ever heard, to know this science, and I myself have done so. Examiganus said, know that our whole primary intention is the true dark jacket, for know that without blackness you cannot whiten. Take therefore the red stone and whiten it with blackness, and redden it with whiteness, and know that in the belly of blackness, whiteness is hidden there. Pull it out as you know, then pull from the belly of this whiteness, the redness, as you wish, for everything lies in these 3 points. Peat says, master, all we say is but to make the fixed the volatile, and the volatile the fixed. And then to make everything a means between 2, which is neither dry nor wet, neither cold nor hot, neither hard nor soft, neither fixed nor too volatile. And all to make a middle ground between 2, for it holds within it 2 natures united together. And know that this is done in a good 7 days, not in a moment. Because all alteration is done by continual action and passion. And mark what I say, for it is the end of our science. ALCHEMY says, take arsent, they are black worms, and venom of old sea red tiles, and have a horrible look, and cook them over a fire neither too hot nor too cold. For if it is cold they do not deteriorate, and if it is too hot it is not made conjunction by true love of themselves. Continue your fire for 3 days like chicken eggs under the mother, and like a heat of fever surrounded, and keep them well in their shell. And know that if they begin to deteriorate, they come to an end and they beautify themselves. And know that if you confide without just weight, there will be great retardation and great peril of fire, whereby retardation one will believe to have failed. I saw a man in my time who knew this as well as I, and none of us, and working in his great haste, great avarice and covetousness, he cannot see the end, and thought he had failed, and left the work. Be firm and not light of understanding, to believe sometimes one, sometimes the other, sometimes doubt and sometimes believe. For before you get started, consider well what we say to you, and think often in our words. Mindius says, "Know, all you investigators of this art, that the spirit is everything, and that if in this spirit there is not enclosed another similar spirit, everything profits nothing. And know that when magnesia is white after darkness, this is accomplished. And know that it comes out of the body of what almonds it, thus you are free to go and seek it, but you must govern it sparingly. For those who ignore the diet are like the blind, and like a donkey that touches the harp. So do not worry about so many names and so many regimes, because the truth of nature is one, which is hidden in its belly, and then the words of our Master will be fulfilled, who says, 'Nature rejoices in nature, and nature overcomes nature, and nature contains nature.'" Pythagoras says, "You all spoke very well. But know that some spoke more clearly than others. And I tell you that our work has from its first beginning to work of two natures, and are but one substance, one is dear, the other is vile, one is hard, the other aquatic, the one red, the other white, one is fixed, the other volatile, one body, the other spirit, one hot and dry, the other cold and humid, one male, the other female, of great weight and very lively matter. And one and the other, and it is nothing else than magnesia and sulfur. And know that in the beginning one dominates the three parts, and the other who has been killed, he begins to dominate and kill his companions 4 parts, and there rises from 3 parts black cubble, white milk, floury salt, white marble, pewter and moon, and from the 4 parts rises brass, rust and iron, saffron, gold and blood and poppy, and the venomous spirit which devoured his companions. And know that one needs the help of the other, for you cannot make the body hard, be spiritual, neither penetrating, without the mind, nor also can you make the bodily mind neither fixed nor permanent, without the body, which body is red and ripe, and the mind is cold and raw in its mind. And know that between living water and clean white pewter, there is no proximity, nor any other nature except common. Because water lives with its certain body to which it joins. And know that he who does not hear what I have now said is but an ass, and never take up this art, for it is predestined never to succeed in it. Leave man and human nature, leave volatiles, and see stone, coal and brute beast, and take metallic matter. And know that if there were 24 ounces, the third part is only necessary for us without the others, namely 8 ounces cook in 3 of white, and in sun. And it will turn black in 40 days. And know that the first work is rather done than the second, and the second is done from the 10th of September until the 1st of February, by great summer heat. And the winters and springs past, the fruits are already ripe and picked from the trees, so it is here. Coal and brute beast, and take metallic matter. And know that if there were 24 ounces, the third part is only necessary for us without the others, namely 8 ounces cook in 3 of white, and in sun. And it will turn black in 40 days. And know that the first work is rather done than the second, and the second is done from the 10th of September until the 1st of February, by great summer heat. And the winters and springs past, the fruits are already ripe and picked from the trees, so it is here. Coal and brute beast, and take metallic matter. And know that if there were 24 ounces, the third part is only necessary for us without the others, namely 8 ounces cook in 3 of white, and in sun. And it will turn black in 40 days. And know that the first work is rather done than the second, and the second is done from the 10th of September until the 1st of February, by great summer heat. And the winters and springs past, the fruits are already ripe and picked from the trees, so it is here. Peat says, "Our master, accept your reverence, it seems that you have spoken too clearly." And he says, "It seems to you, but to the ignorant, who would tell them even more clearly hardly would they hear him." The Peat says, "It must be sealed to the foolish, and revealed to the wise and not otherwise, for that would be damnation." Flores says, "The water of sulfur is mixed of 2 natures and congeals and dries up, and alters, and whitens, and reddens by the help of fire administered as one should only so much." Brackus says, "Take the 100-year-old white tree, surrounded by a round house of humid heat, surrounded and closed for rain, cold and winds, and put its man there who is 100 years old. And I tell you that if you leave him 180 days, this old man will eat all the fruit of this tree, until the old man is dead, and turned to ashes, and he will remain as long. Neither more nor less." Zeno says, "Know that the white tree comes from the black mining of 80 years, and the 10 years of advantage make it white and beautiful, and the others red in varying degrees. And know that if you don't dye the moon that you have in your ship, until it is resplendent like sun, you do nothing. For I tell you that the moon is the means of concordance." Lucas says, "Know that fire contains water in its belly, and this water is drawn by suitable fire, and then by means of hot and lukewarm water. And the chambermaid puts the darkness of the night outside and against the fireplace, so that the fire is clear and does not catch the soot too bitterly. And know that I myself have searched hard before reaching it, but thank God I came to my desire, after great difficulty, for he who does not plow, will not eat, nor will he rest in his old age." Isindrius says, "Mix water with water, gum with gum, lead with lead, marble with marble, milk with milk, moon with moon, iron with iron, brass with iron. Brass, or Sunday cook everything 150 days, then cook until your desire as you know, and everything is impalpable. Read your books and reread, that you may know the truth, for our science is nothing but changing hard into soft, and hot into cold, and cold into hot. So that everything together comes away, neither hot nor cold, neither hard nor soft, but moderate in every complexion. And know that after 280 days are enough for him. Surround the environment from inside out, containing the content, and all will conquer. One white, one black, one red, strengthen both, does good the first and multiplies to reach 10 exams, and the other is 1 exam. Returns by returning, make the perfect containing the content online. And note my line of the container, the seer is contained, and teaches you what no one had yet said, hear my say." Peat says, "Know that the better our stone is digested, the more its fire is more active, and made of a more igneous nature on the other elements, and also more tinted. And know that whoever hears the venerable words of Isindrius, he hears a degree beyond the others, and 2 and 3 and 4 to infinity in augmented and igneous virtue." Pythagoras says, "Isindrius, God compensate you for what you said. Because it is certainly the particular of which none of us had spoken. Go children, note these last words touching the glorious action and very sudden transmutation. Know that the world lived at the first 280 years, but the time comes that the son of this time lasts only 3 years. And in the end is 10 times finer and mischievous at 3 years old, than the father is 280, and does as much in a year as his father at 40 and 40, and so is everywhere. And know that whoever takes medicine well, takes laxative medicine from within, and comforting medicine from without, so that one teaches the other, and we hear and note." The philosopher says, "Our composition is made of 2 things, which are made one thing, and is called, when they make one, bronze white, and then when all is vanquished, it is called quicksilver, not vulgar. And is quick-dyed, which the philosophers have sealed with so many words. And I tell you that this science is only a gift from God, where he wills. And that it is nothing other than to dissolve, and kill the living and vivify the dead, and from everything make an inseparable life. Peat says, "Know that our work has many names, which we want to describe. Magnesia, kukul, sulfur, vinegar, citron stone, gum, milk, marble, fleur de sel, saffron, rust, blood, poppy, and vivified and multiplied sublimated gold, living tincture, elixir, medicine, bemble. Sursuft, lead, tin, tenebrous jacket, white worms, brazen iron, gold, silver, blood red and haughty reddish, sea, dew, fresh water, salt water, dezuma, a substance, raven, camel, trees, birds, men. Nupses, gears, resurrection, mortification, stars, planets, and other infinite names. But know that the whole is nothing else than the apparent colors in the work, and so called it for reason and because of the resemblances of it to our thing. And take care lest these names make you miss, and have a firm and not changeable heart, and be assured that nothing dyes the metal, forges the metal itself, in its nature. And know that no nature is amended except in its own nature, for otherwise it would not be amended. Afterwards I will speak to you of the fire, so that you may be certain at all, and have no reason to blaspheme against us. And that our book may be fulfilled at all and everywhere without any diminution. For whoever has this book, he has the words of Pythagoras, who was the wisest man there was, and to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. First the metal itself, in its nature. And know that no nature is amended except in its own nature, for otherwise it would not be amended. Afterwards I will speak to you of the fire, so that you may be certain at all, and have no reason to blaspheme against us. And that our book may be fulfilled at all and everywhere without any diminution. For whoever has this book, he has the words of Pythagoras, who was the wisest man there was, and to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. First the metal itself, in its nature. And know that no nature is amended except in its own nature, for otherwise it would not be amended. Afterwards I will speak to you of the fire, so that you may be certain at all, and have no reason to blaspheme against us. And that our book may be fulfilled at all and everywhere without any diminution. For whoever has this book, he has the words of Pythagoras, who was the wisest man there was, and to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. Afterwards I will speak to you of the fire, so that you may be certain at all, and have no reason to blaspheme against us. And that our book may be fulfilled at all and everywhere without any diminution. For whoever has this book, he has the words of Pythagoras, who was the wisest man there was, and to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. Afterwards I will speak to you of the fire, so that you may be certain at all, and have no reason to blaspheme against us. And that our book may be fulfilled at all and everywhere without any diminution. For whoever has this book, he has the words of Pythagoras, who was the wisest man there was, and to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. And to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. And to whom God gave all his knowledge, and he to his disciples. And know that in this book all the art is there whole and without any desire, the matter and the days and the colors and the mode and the manner, and the weight, without any reduction. Now I want to say what must be the fire. Know that I have seen the fire made in many ways, one made of small sticks, the other of small coals with ashes mixed together, at a slow fire. And the others of hot ashes, the others without flame, and do so of hot vapors, the others of very small and medium flames. But to come to the perfection of everything and the accomplishment of your work, I command you only the slow, continuous and hot fire, digesting and cooking, as nature requires. Which experience will show you by doing it. And know that this science is easier than any other, but names and diets make it obscure, because the ignorant take our words without hearing us. And know that whoever has this art is out of poverty, misery, tribulation, and bodily disease. Don't think our art is a lie. It is the sealed end of our precious art. Seal it to everyone who asks for it. Disciples, take our books, our colors, our matter, our times, our diets, which are all one. Enigma of the code of truth. The distinction of the epistle that Aristeas composed to know this precious art. Pythagoras says, "We have already written everything about how this precious tree must be planted, lest it die, and how the fruit, after the white flowers, can be perfected and eaten. And whoever eats of it will never hunger or tribulation again, but will be a prince and of the number of our philosophers, and will have the gift which God reserves for his elect and not for others. And will have this reward for the trouble of his spirit, in remuneration of philosophy. But however, although we have all spoken well, still none will be able to achieve it by planting this tree, if they do not have a greater certainty of their work. And for this, that those who plant it may not blaspheme against us, nor also be frustrated of their intention, if this tree should die. I want, Aristeas, that you who have collected all my sentences, and who assembled my disciples and me, that you speak of it more clearly in charity without envy for the survivors. And that we can be the cause of the good of our successors, and that no one can miss in this precious tree." Aristeas says, "Gladly, but give me time." And Pythagoras says, "And tomorrow." And the next day the disciples being assembled and Aristeas, Pythagoras said, "What did you see?" Aristeas says, "I saw myself and 10 of us, that it seemed to us that we were going round and round the whole sea, and I saw the inhabitants of the sea who lay the males with the males, and from them came no fruit. And those there they planted trees and did not bear fruit, and from what they sowed nothing came. It seems to me that I tell them, you are several people, and there is none of you who is a philosopher, who teaches others. And they say, what thing is a philosopher? I answered, he is the one who knows the virtues of all created things and their natures. And they said to me, of what profit this science? We make no tale of it, if there is no profit. And I answered, if in you there was philosophy or science, and wisdom, your children would be multiplied, and your trees would grow and not die, and your goods would be increased, and would all be king, overcoming your enemies. They heard me and immediately went away and reported what I had said to the great and major prince of the earth, and told him the gifts that we had told them. And when the king had heard them speak, he sent to us, and said to us, who brought you to us? And we answered him, our master, the head of the sages and the foundation of the prophets, Pythagoras, has sent us to you to offer you a very great gift. And the king said, where is that gift? And I say, the offering and the giving are hidden and not uncovered. And he says, give them to me now, or I will kill you. I replied, our master has sent you through us the art of begetting and planting a tree, that whoever eats its fruit, will never be hungry." And the king answered me, "Your master sends me a great gift, if it be so as you say." And I say, "Our master would never send it to you, nor will we reveal it for anything, if it were not so that in this country never was known any news of this tree. For if there was any mention of it, we would never have done it. But in order that science should not perish, and that it should be known by all countries and lands, our master who is the master of the sages and philosophers, to whom God has given more gifts than to any man after Adam, we has sent here, so that we may communicate it each in a country." And the king said, "Tell me, what thing is it?" And I say, "Lord king, how much you are king, and your land is very fertile, yet you use bad diet in this land, for you conjoin males with males, and you know that males do not beget. For every generation is made of male and female. And laws that males join with females, nature then rejoices in its nature. How then when you conjoin the natures with the strange natures unduly, nor as it belongs, do you expect to beget any fruit?" And the king said, "What thing is proper to conjoin?" And I tell him, "Bring me your son Gaberton, and his sister Bea." And the king said to me, "How do you know that his sister's name is Bea? I believe you are a magician." And I tell him, "The science and the art of begetting has taught us that his sister's name is Bea. And how much that she is a woman, she amends him, because she is in him." And the king said, "Why do you want her?" And I tell him, "Because no true generation can be made without it, nor can any tree be multiplied." So he sent us the said sister, and she was beautiful and white, tender and delicate. And I say, "I will join Gaberton to Bea." And he answered, "The brother leads his sister, not the husband his wife." And I say, "So did Adam, that's why we are many children. For Eve was of the matter of which was Adam, and so is of Bea, who is of the substantial matter of which is Gaberton the beautiful and resplendent. But he is a perfect man, and she is a raw, cold and imperfect woman, and believe me, king, if you are obedient to my commands and my words, you will be blessed." And my companions told me, "Take charge and finish saying the cause for which our master has sent us here." And I answered, "By the marriage of Gaberton and Bea, we will be out of sadness, and in this way, not otherwise, because we can do nothing as long as they are made a nature." And the king said, "I will give them to you." And immediately after Bea had accompanied her husband and brother Gaberton, and lay with her, he died altogether and lost all his vivid color and became dead and pale, the color of his wife. And the king seeing this was very wrathful, and said, "You are the cause of the death of my son and dear child, who was as beautiful and as shining as the sun. How good is his face now! I will put you all to death. I always feared your bad magic art, and you came here with bad intention by your cursed art. I will kill you." And he took all 10 of us and locked us in a prison of a glass house, on which is built another house, on which again well and wisely another has been built. And so we were imprisoned in 3 well-closed and closed round houses. So I say to him, "O king, why are you so angry and cause us so much pain? At least give us your daughter, and perhaps God will have mercy on us, and will cause your daughter with our help in a short time to return the son she holds in her dead womb, and whom she has animated everything, young, strong and powerful, multiplying very strongly his lineage more than you ever did." And the king said, "Do you still want to kill my daughter?" And I answered him, "O king, do not think so much malice of us, and do not make us suffer so much pain. Have a little patience, and please give us your daughter." And the king gave her to us, which remained with us in the prison of the glass house 80 days. And we all dwelt in darkness and gloom in the waves of the sea, and in great slow summer heat, and in the stirring and heaving of the sea, the like of which had never seen. When we were left, you saw Pythagoras in our dream, and we begged you to feed us our child, who was fed and encouraged and animated, and overcame his wife who had overcome him before. And they multiplied like the sun. Then we rejoiced and told the king that his son was fit to be seen. And we all dwelt in darkness and gloom in the waves of the sea, and in great slow summer heat, and in the stirring and heaving of the sea, the like of which had never seen. When we were left, you saw Pythagoras in our dream, and we begged you to feed us our child, who was fed and encouraged and animated, and overcame his wife who had overcome him before. And they multiplied like the sun. Then we rejoiced and told the king that his son was fit to be seen. And we all dwelt in darkness and gloom in the waves of the sea, and in great slow summer heat, and in the stirring and heaving of the sea, the like of which had never seen. When we were left, you saw Pythagoras in our dream, and we begged you to feed us our child, who was fed and encouraged and animated, and overcame his wife who had overcome him before. And they multiplied like the sun. Then we rejoiced and told the king that his son was fit to be seen, who was fed and encouraged and enlivened, and overcame his wife who had overcome him before, and they multiplied like the sun. Then we rejoiced and told the king that his son was fit to be seen, who was fed and encouraged and enlivened, and overcame his wife who had overcome him before, and they multiplied like the sun. Then we rejoiced and told the king that his son was fit to be seen. The end.